God is calling us in this day to set ourselves against our enemies, and you think you may not have enough weapon, you think you may not have enough bullets to hand over a decision against the enemy, but you do. When you go and get your marching orders, you got to come up to him, and he will tell you how to come down on your mountains. Because you need to begin here at your mountain to get to the top and destroy the enemy that has taken your mountain. Hi, I'm Dr. Ray from Hosea International Speaks. And a couple of weeks ago, I had the privilege of traveling to Australia and ministering at a conference called Convergence. The next few weeks, you will be hearing some of the excerpts from that sermon. I hope you enjoy it right now. If you hear something going off, it's my phone. Okay, and it's telling me that my time is up. But speaking of the United States, we have just come through some of the worst 4 years that I can even think of. But when I get into the service, into the speech tonight, we will see some of the things that we have been doing. Did you bring my board here? Because he talked about Lance Wallnau. Well, I've been teaching before Lance Wallnau, and because I was a teacher, I used the board. How many's a teacher here? I mean, in school. Yeah, exactly. So you use the board to get your information across so that the kids can see. And what happens when you see something, you actually rise about 10% in your learning. So when you see, if I put something on the board, you might want to probably take it down or whatever. So I was before Lance Wallnau, if you really want to know. But as Pastor was reading today, and he said something in Psalm number 2, and as you see, I you know something, I can tell you something. My eyesight has been getting better, and I am years old, and so what happens is I can see now back there better than I can with glasses. All I need is glasses for up here. So I'm turning to, I want you to look at, just quickly, because I was talking with my wife and I was saying, we was listening to this and we heard, and I decided to read Psalm chapter 2, and it says this, and it says, why do the nations rage? Oh, hold on. You said you had a word? Okay. She said she had a word. She said, honey, I got a word. Okay, so, and it says, why are the nations in an uproar and the people mutter a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves and the rulers take counsel together against Yahweh and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bonds asunder and cast away their cords from us. Who sits in the heavens laughs. I can imagine God up there and sitting on his throne, and he's just laughing. What fools they are. And then it says this. He who sits in the heavens laughs. The Lord has them in derision. I looked that word up in the Hebrew. You know what that means? Unintelligible language. That means what they say, hey, goes in this ear from God and it goes out that ear. Their voices, what they speak, is unintelligible. They are idiots. In one chapter of Psalms, he says they are stupid. Abar, I believe, was the Hebrew word. And that's exactly what they are, stupid. He says, I see them, their language is unintelligible. And I laugh at them. Then shall he speak to them in his wrath and terrify them in his burning anger. So, did I start it? Make sure I start my phone. Because I have Pastor Brian says, hey, you should have stopped 10 hours ago. The year, I have two things. I have my pad here and my notes here, just in case my pad decides to go out. Because you know how they are. You know how pads are. They don't want to stay on. You got to set them for about 30,000 minutes, and then they will speak to you. So, the year is about 1863. The battle is the Battle of Gettysburg, and there was a small place at Gettysburg called Little Round Top. And a man by the name of Colonel Joshua was in charge of about 350 men. And he was put there. By the way, he was a teacher, a professor in college. So I'm pretty sure he used the board. Now, I was expecting something like that. But that's all right. I will draw bigger pictures. And he was up there on the top of the mountain, and it was a strategic position for both North and South. He was being attacked by the Alabama, which is a southern team, a southern group of Confederates. And they attacked once, he repelled. They attacked twice, he repelled. And after the second attack, he ran out of bullets. But he was also a Christian. And he says, because this place is strategic, we cannot give it up. He said, what will we do? But being a Christian, he got a word from the Lord. His sergeants come to him and says, we're out of bullets. We can't repel them again. So he says, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go on the offense. What? Fix bayonets. We will charge. And he tells one of his units, he says, when you line up, I will tell you to move, and we will come from this position. Over the top. When the Confederates began to attack, he says, fix bayonets, go. They began to come. He began to come over the top. The Alabama looked and thought it was a brand new battalion that had come to their rescue, and they gave up. God is calling us in this day to set ourselves against our enemies, and you think you may not have enough weapon. You think you may not have enough bullets to hand over a decision against the enemy, but you do. The Lord is on our side, and we're going to win this thing. As he said today, he said, we have got to win this nation. 2020, we saw what was in America, what we thought was really bad. And it was. First of all, how many know that they stole the wedding? I mean the wedding. They stole the election. Not a wedding. Yeah, it was a wedding for the bad guys. How many knew that they stole the election? I mean, how do you vote for a guy who's in derision and then he can't put a sentence together? By the way, when my wife and I we was looking at that word derision, and we said the unintelligible language, I talked to some of the kids. I still teach. By the way, I still teach. I've retired 3 times, and I still have to go back and teach. So I began teaching. Who do I teach? I teach elementary. I saw a need because we have one of the worst schools in our district when it comes to learning and absorbing. So I said, what I do is I'm what they call an impact sub. I go in there to make an impact. No, not with my fist. What I do is I pull kids who are not up to par. And then I begin to try to pull out of them what they have learned. If they haven't learned it, then I put it into them. And I go from kindergarten all the way to 5th grade. That's our elementary levels. And I pull them out each level. And I teach them. I say, what's this? How do you do your timetables? What do you, first thing you do when you do divisions? You look here. What is it? You got 32 divided by 6. What are you supposed to do? Don't know, Mr. V. I said, you're supposed to know your 6 tables. Let's go over your 6 tables. So we start going down to 6 times 1, 6 times 2, 6 times 3, 6 times 4, 6 times 5, all the way down to 6 times 12. And then I give him another. I said, what about 54 divided by 9? What are you supposed to do? Mr. V, you think maybe we should know our 9 tables? I said, yes, let's go out 9 tables. And we go down 9 tables. Well, people, if you don't know how to beat the enemy, you better get to the Word and start every morning. I was talking to Pastor Dave the other day. He said, you know what you should do? Read the book of Proverbs every day. Let me tell you, not only do I read the Proverbs every day, I read 5 Psalms and 1 book of Proverbs, and you can finish them each month. And you start to get what's in the scripture, you start to put it down here. That's exactly what the Lord wants us to do. What did he say? I was listening, I was studying, I was up in the morning one time. I usually get up, when I have to work, I usually get up at 4:30 in the morning. That's not to brag. That's the only time I got. 4:30 in the morning, and I pray for the next hour and a half. And on Saturdays, I leave it till 6 o'clock in the morning so I can sleep another hour and a half. And Sunday, the same thing. You know why? Because it's quiet. And let me tell you, I'm with my grandkids, and about 6:30, it gets pretty noisy. So you know what happens? I have to wake up a little early. And so I'm in there praying, and I'm reading the scriptures. And you know, when you have an iPad, you can open it up, and you don't have to worry about turning on any lights because it has its own lights. And so what happens is, we need to, I know it, you had mentioned Australia. Okay, I'm going to put this on the board because, like I said, but I'm going to use, and this is the church. The church. Oh, look at this. I love students who want, hey, I don't care, you can come right here. Because I also teach college students too. Now, I know you've heard the 7 mountains, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, Lance Wall now teaches this. But you know something? I don't know if everybody who's in Moir in 2007, 2008. What did Papa do behind this? What did he call this? Anybody? He called this the mountain of God. Other people want to call this is the heavenlies where the devil is. My friend, God's higher. The reason why I say this is the mountain of God is because when you go and get your marching orders, you got to come up to him, and he will tell you how to come down on your mountains. What are these mountains? I want to see all the teachers in here. Raise your hand. All teachers. Okay, teachers. You need to get together. Why? Because if 2 or 3 of you get together in my name, I will work for you on your behalf. I want all businessmen. Raise your hands. All businessmen. 1, 2, 3. You need to get together and pray. Why? Because you need to begin here at your mountain to get to the top and destroy the enemy that has taken your mountain. Well, if you enjoyed that portion, be sure to listen to next week for the next part of this convergence. If you enjoyed today, so you can go ahead and email me at hoseainternational@yahoo.com or hoseaintspeaks@gmail.com. If you haven't yet subscribed, now would be a good time. And if you'd like the sermon or the ministry, go ahead and hit the button, probably right about there. If you still wish to give, you can scan either one of the 2 QR codes that's coming up on your screen even now. I'm Dr. Ray, and I'll see you next week at Hosea International Speaks.